surrender. That's it. I give it to you. And I've been having dreams, but I haven't had like a full revelation at the time of, why the Lord wants me to leave. So I left, I denounced, I burned my stuff, everything. And then it was like 2 days after I denounced, the Lord started revealing scriptures to me on why I was wrong. And mind you, the scriptures are always there, but my mind was blinded. Everything was, I couldn't hear anything. So it wasn't until I left and I was obedient to him that I could see all the things that were wrong with this, with just secret societies in general. But yeah. Oh, also, there was, for every meeting that we have for Zeta, every chapter meeting, we will always sing the sorority hymn. And just looking at the words, and it's really OC, but I'll read it. It says, "With reverent hearts we pray for you, Zeta, each day. You've always been for the right rather than for the might. We will love you ever and forsake you never. When Zeta calls, we'll answer one and all. Zeta Phi Beta, we love you so. Your very name sets our hearts aglow. You're brave and you will see that Zeta Phi Beta means victory." And it'll be things like that that we're singing every chapter meeting to reassure the bond, to bring you back in, to strengthen it every time you guys meet up. And it's stuff like that. And even, I just learned this recently that Zeta had the Arconian Club, and that was basically like them pledging underground and stuff like that. And Archon is a Greek word for ruler, and it's also used in the occult groups and stuff like that. And it's the beliefs as a subservient with demon. So it's basically goes hand in hand with the name demon. So it's just like it's all right there, but we I chose not to look at it. I chose not to even pay it any mind, but it was all right there. And this is what I will be saying each time, strengthening the bond and reassuring my my bondage.
Thank you. Alright, hi guys, my name is Valerie, and I used to be a member of Sigma Gamma sorority. So yeah, to compress my whole testimony, I didn't actually start out the way they did, I was sure of everything. So when I went into college, I wasn't seeking, I didn't have depression issues, I didn't have insecurity problems, to me, I thought my life was great, I pursued Greek life because I'm African. So we always go for what we think is good things, and you gotta get an A, you have to get a PhD, you have to just, get all these good things. So I saw Greek life as let me add that to my list of good things that I'm gonna, do in my life. There was I didn't think I needed it, but I wanted it because I wanted more good things. So when I joined in fall 2016, and the chapter I joined was very notorious in the area for hazing and pledging. There was so much respect because oh yeah, she's part of that chapter, she's good. So every time I went to a function, they were oh, they would call me by the chapter name, and they'd be oh yeah, give her a drink or give her some food, because I was part of a certain chapter. So there was so much pride in that, and I loved my former line sisters. We got along like this. There was every group of girls has their issue, but we were to me, my Greek experience at that time, I would have called it perfect. So when a lot of people say, oh, you probably left because you didn't like your line sisters, so you guys know how the enemy works. For every time the Lord does something, the enemy now comes and try to make a counterfeit. Mm-hmm. So what I noticed on YouTube is that a lot of people are coming out with their denouncing videos, but now you have Christians who are in these fraternities and sororities, and they are now making videos defending their membership. And a lot of reasons that they state, none of them are biblical. So for and I watch them, and a lot of them talk about how you can be Christian and be in these organizations because I have my former big sister told me, nobody's telling you not to pray, nobody's telling you not to go to church. I'm if my salvation was based on praying and going to church, then pretty much everybody who claims Christianity would have been saved for, Jesus' return. But long story short, so I crossed fall 2016, I left in May 2018, and it was literally an overnight thing. It was an overnight encounter, and it was honestly, I still get shocked at the fact that I'm here today because it all started in January of 2018. I decided to get more serious about my walk with Jesus, and opening my eyes to little issues that I had. Like, I had anger issues, obedience, I was rebellious, stuff like that. So then I remember I was reading the story of Abraham, and in the story of Abraham, the way the scripture was set up, when the Lord told Abraham to do, what he was supposed to do, the next verse, Abraham, he started doing those things. And be careful what you say to God, because he will hold you by your word. I remember I told God, wow, test my obedience. Like, I'm trying to be obedient like that. Like, what's up? But then he was like, all right, cool. And so then actually, she went live on Instagram talking about how she renounced AKA. And I always knew she renounced. So it was my first time knowing that she came out publicly. And when she posted her flyer about it, it really bothered me. I don't know why, but it bothered me. And I was like, oh, this is strange. So then a couple days go by and she keeps posting the flyer. And then I actually started getting mad. Like, I wish this girl would just be quiet and, go mind her business. So then that Saturday, I had a chapter meeting. And mind you, my spiritual blinders are still on because I'm seeking Christ. But I was only really seeking Christ to my advantage, because I was also looking for a job. I was in grad school. I wanted to know what God could do for me. So that Saturday I went to the grad chapter meeting. We said, the oaths. We opened up with the prayer. And this is why, be careful of things that call themselves like Christian based, because just because somebody puts the label of Christianity on it doesn't mean it's approved by God. Amen. And that's what these Greek words are. They have the label of being founded on Christian principles, but what is a Christian principle if it's not based on the Bible, So, so I went to that meeting Saturday, and then I left excited. I left happy because we were planning all these things we were going to do for the community. We were talking about, all these initiatives that we always do, and I was like, oh, yes, community service, praise God. But then, and that was on a Saturday. Sunday, she went live, and then I got pissed again, all over. And then I remember I didn't want to watch her video, but the Holy Spirit kept telling me to watch her video. So I was like, I'm just going to go to sleep. I go to sleep, I wake up, and then the first thing on my timeline is her video. And I'm mad all over again. I was about to delete Instagram at this point because of her. But praise God. So as I'm scrolling through my timeline, the Holy Spirit kept telling me to watch her video. So I go, I click, I watch it. The first minute started kind of skipping and freezing. I took that as a sign from God that I wasn't supposed to watch it. So I went back to sleep. I was so happy. And then in the middle of the night, I felt this squeeze on my heart. I woke up out of nowhere. I started breathing really hard. I started sweating really bad. And I just felt, I don't know, it's like somebody was just punching my heart. You need to finish watching her video. And I'm just like, and I just wake up, God, tell me to watch this girl's video. But long story short, I forced myself back to sleep. Then I woke up the next morning, and it did not go away. And it felt, honestly, even stronger, watch her video. So I watched it, and basically it confirmed everything to me that I knew the Lord was trying to tell me about leaving the organization. But I was confused as to why, because I didn't allow Greek life to consume me. I didn't place, to me, it wasn't my idol. A lot of people say, oh, it's not my idol because I don't serve it and I don't put this thing above God. You don't have to put it above God in order for it to be your idol. It's like a pebble in your shoe. You walk in, but you still feel it. It's in there, and the Lord sees it. So with that, eventually there was a prayer she said in the video, if you want to renounce, say this prayer. And I said it. And it wasn't until I obeyed that God started showing me, why this thing is wrong. And just like her, I'm also a dreamer. And the Lord showed me my deliverance also in a dream. I remember I was gathering all my pear and everything. I burned it up. I set it on fire outside. And then a couple days later, I had a dream that I was pledging in hell, basically. It was my arms was like this. My whole skin had been burned up in flames. And then my 4 former profiles were screaming and shouting at me, but they were also burned up in flames too. So I'm just and the Lord basically just showed me this is what you used to look like to me. This is what you thought that was just community service. And then after I woke up, it was bad, because as they were shouting at me, and then I'm on this side, I'm now who I am. I was walking between that, and then as I'm walking between them trying to approach this door, the girl who used to be me, she had on my probate. She had on my probate wig also. So it was she was walking. So when I walked past her, she now turned and walked next to me, and she was angry. She was so mad that I left, because because I stopped walking, and she turns and she faces me, and she goes to reach my arm. And as I woke up, it felt like somebody was still grabbing onto my arm. I jumped out of bed so fast, I poured some holy water on my wrist, but I didn't realize how connected the spiritual realm and the physical realm is. So, and that's what the enemy preys on when it comes to, like, we say these things absent-mindedly, like, it's not about the lifestyle, because a lot of people say maybe it's demonic because of the lifestyle you live, which it does promote, like, a low-key ungodly lifestyle, but you don't need letters to be ratchet. You don't need letters to be an adulterer. You don't need letters to be an alcoholic. Like, it opens the door for more of that, but you don't need that. So what is the root issue with Greek life? It's idolatry, And it wasn't until, like, that dream, and then many dreams after, that I realized, like, oh, this thing I was playing with is not child's play that I thought, So, but yeah, that's my story.
Can you read real quick?
Oh, from the, yes. So below, it says, so to the only Sigma Gamma Rho, I pledge my life, my best efforts, and cooperation. In thee I pin my faith, hope, and trust, so that the order of Sigma Gamma Rho shall be a beacon of light to all womankind who are interested in every phase of education. So quickly, I want to touch on that. In 2015, I remember I had a dream that I was sitting next to this lady, and the lady was holding a purple snake, and the snake kept, like, she was basically, like, dangling the snake in my face, and then I was really enticed by the snake, and I just kept watching, and she kept, like, whispering things in my ear, but I didn't know what she was saying. So then I see a member of my church sitting in front of her, and the lady in my church was like, don't listen to what that lady is saying. So I didn't know what that meant. I went to tell my pastor, and I remember my pastor was telling me, you need to be careful of womanhood. You need to be careful of groups of women. But this was in 2015, and I wasn't even at the school that I had crossed at the time, so I didn't really know what he meant by that. And it wasn't until after I left that the Lord reminded me, like, I warned you, but this is just to show how thick the veil is. When you're spiritually blinded, you can't see what God is trying to tell you. So, praise God.
Amen. Before we go on to Delta, I want to, for Valerie, she read Sigma Gamma Rho, the ritual, and I want you to take a moment, because the reason why we're giving you the rituals and we're showing you is because I want you to ponder what's being said. Because people think that, oh, we can just say this stuff and it doesn't mean anything. But we got to remember, doesn't the Bible tell us that there's power of life and death in our words? And we say this stuff and we say it flippantly. And I really, because I didn't know Sigma Gamma Rho said this. But I want to say this slowly. To the only Sigma Gamma Rho, I pledge my life. To the only. So this person that says that they follow Jesus, you just stood in front of all these people and said, but to the only, I give it to Sigma Gamma Rho. And please understand that that is a problem to the Lord. Because you just told God, forget you, I'm good over here. I want this. I pledge my life to this. And even though the words are different for all of our organizations, the concept is the same. Every organization has something where they said, I give my life to you. I give my heart to you. I give my mind, I give my soul, whatever the words are for each one. But this is what's being said, and that includes for Delta, which we are going to go to next. But I think Evelyn wanted to chime in real quick just to touch on, she missed it where she didn't talk about the ritual.
I actually did read part of the ritual, but I did want to highlight the initiation hymn.
Okay, so I'll go back to that real quick.
So I remember, what I forgot to point out was that when I figured out that some of the things were wrong, I started cutting little things off. So even as a basilisk, I was like, I'm not saying the hymn anymore. I'm not singing the hymn anymore before I actually officially denounced. And it says, to thee, O Alpha Kappa Alpha, we pledge our hearts, our minds, our strengths, to foster thy teachings, obey thy laws, and make thee supreme in service to all mankind. O Alpha Kappa Alpha, we greet thee. Number one, who we greeting? And then number two, the Lord highlighted in that this actually contradicts his scripture in, I believe, Matthew 22:37, when it says, Lord, we love you with all of our hearts, mind, and soul. And that literally just contradicted it. But yeah, just want to touch that.
So now we're going to get into, Jay's going to go next. So now we're going to get into Delta Sigma Theta. So we got 5 ladies that all denounce, actually, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because Denise is going to chime in a little bit later. Denise also denounced Delta. So we got 6 ladies here to tell you about coming out of Delta. So Javay's gonna go ahead and chime in.
Hi everybody, I'm Javay. I'm from Detroit, born and raised all my life, so I'm a little far from home, that's okay. I crossed 4/1/1995, so I'm a bit of an old head. When I went to college, I was the first in my family, and I went to school with no intentions on Greek life, but I had this spirit of status that dwelled within me. So when I saw them strolling on the yard, I'm like, oh yeah, that's me all day. That's me. So immediately, my freshman year, I pursued, I did all that stuff. My sophomore year, I got in, pledged, crossed, all that. Now this is the Midwest, so the lines are not as large as they are in the South. So it was only 10 of us. So they had plenty of time to give each one of us our own divided attention. And they did. So I was the tail of my line, and if anybody knows anything about that, I was the one that took the brunt of the line because I'm the tail. So that's like a big thing, like, oh, all hail the tail. Like seriously, like people move, they get out their chairs for you, they bring you food. So I'm the man on campus. But it was a spirit of status that I held. I didn't know then, but I know now. So I crossed, I became the president of my chapter. Did that for a while. Again, this was back in 1995. So we didn't have all the Facebooks and we didn't have all that good stuff. So a couple years later, I go to this, born and raised in the church. My mom was a minister, my auntie is all my family come from a whole line of ministers, so I should know better. But when I read the rituals and went through the process and crossed the burning sands, all this, I wanted Delta. Okay, God, I got you. Thank you. But I wanted Delta. So I went to this service, this teaching, and my spiritual leader, my mentor, my teacher was giving a session, a class on secret societies. So I'm sitting there with my boastful, prideful self. Oh, she ain't talking to me. Because you know how you go to church and be like, oh my God, that is about me. Like, no, this one ain't about me. And so she's talking about secret societies and how every hidden thing shall be revealed. And, you can't hide your candle and all this stuff. So she's talking, but I'm hearing her, but she's not talking to me. So then she pulls me to the front. So I go to the front. And she says, you know what, Javay? She says, the Holy Spirit tells me to reveal some things to you. So I'm open to the Spirit because, again, I'm born and raised in the church. So it's in me. It's deep down hidden under everything else, but it's in me. So at that time, I can't remember what car I was driving, but my car had the license plate, Delta Sigma Theta, the Greek letters at the top on my car. I had a 3-bedroom house. I had a whole bedroom just with Perry in it. Paddles and t-shirts and just a whole room dedicated to Delta Sigma Theta. That was my shrine. Pictures and photos and paintings but I say I serve the Most High. I serve Jesus Christ. I serve the Lord. I ain't got no shrine of him in my house. I had a little Bible over on the corner. And I'm making light of it, but it's definitely very serious. It's very real in my life. So she brings me forward, and she tells me to close my eyes. And the first thing that the Holy Spirit revealed to me was that license plate. And I'm like, okay, what's wrong with my plate? And she said, Javay, the secret society, the secret things. So I'm like, okay. So she goes on to say some other things, and then I go home. So I'm like, what do this mean? And the Most High says, choose this day whom you will serve. Right? What you mean? I serve you. I don't bow to Delta. I don't do this. I don't worship Delta. Then he started bringing it to me. All of my love, peace and happiness. I'm like, oh, okay. But he says, but you should serve and love me with all your heart and all. I'm like, okay, you got me there. And then he said, who is Minerva? I said, she's the goddess of wisdom.
How you talking about that?
But choose this day whom you will serve. Will you serve me? Or are you going to serve the God of this world? But I don't serve her, Father. What is you talking? So I'm mad at him. I'm being real. Delta was my heart, my baby. These ladies, I commend them. God say go, they went.
Yep.
I was like, no, you ain't no. Delta was my heart, my baby. Now, y'all don't understand. Like, when you have a child, that's how much Delta meant to me. And so he's telling me, this was a long night. Javay, you have to sever yourself from that. I said, okay, I won't pay my dues no more. I'm going to be inactive because I'm fighting him with this
He
thing.
gonna bargain.
I'm fighting him. He said, no, Javay, just like my sister down there said, when you marry and you sever, you have to divorce the thing. Yeah. He was like, you either divorce that thing or my back will be turned to you. What? Okay, God, okay, I'm sorry. Then he told me, he said, you know what? Don't think this road is going to be easy. And I said, well, what do you mean, Father? He said, because once you denounce, the enemy is going to look at you like a traitor. Yeah. Because you belong to that kingdom. Mm-hmm. You gave your life to that kingdom. You bowed to that kingdom. I said, no, I didn't. No, you're wrong. Because we having this dialogue. That's how me and the Most High kick it. You did that thing. I said, okay, show me. I don't want to see it in no dream. I want to see it in my face like this. Show me. He said, remember the first week online? I'm like, okay. He was like, what was the thing that y'all had to learn specifically how to do? Oh, do you realize this was back in 1995, right? I don't remember. You bow on Delta. Bow Delta. Every time you said the word Delta, you had to bow your head. You bowed your head. Every time you said the word Delta, you bowed your head. And if you don't bow your head, they take the back of your head. Bow on Delta. Bow on. I'm like, what? Oh my God. I did bow on Delta. I said, but Delta's just a word, Father. It's just a word because I'm still fighting him. It's just a word. But the foundation of the thing is the thing. So what's the foundation? Look at the crest. At the top is Minerva, the goddess of wisdom. She is the foundation of that thing. The enemy is the foundation of that thing. So you gave all your love, peace, and happiness to the enemy, to the demons, to Lucifer. It ain't that deep, God. It ain't that serious. Okay. The last thing he said to me was, choose you this day who you will serve. And he literally shut his mouth. Didn't say another word to me. I'm praying, I'm crying, and that's how I felt he was to me. And when I talk to people about it, because I can go for days, but I got a minute. When I talk to people about it, they say, oh, it ain't that serious, he know your heart. But think about it, if any of you are parents in this room, and you tell your child to do something specific, and they don't do it, you love them. You know it's in their heart. But you're going to snatch a mud hole in them if they don't do what you told them to do, right? Or you're going to be angry with them if they don't do what you told. The Most High is no different. Our Father requires obedience. Our Father requires, he demands obedience. And when he said, choose this day whom you will serve, and then shut his mouth to me, I quit. I quit. So I crossed in 1995, and I denounced in 2002. And even from 2002 to this day, it has not been easy. It has been a spiritual warfare, spiritual fight most days, because the enemy wants me back. You know how easy it would be to just say, you know what? Okay, God, thank you so much. I chose him. I chose to serve the Most High, the Creator, Jesus Christ, Yahshua Messiah, Yahweh. the just judge, the creator of heaven and earth. I chose to serve him because when we stand before him, he gonna say, oh, remember Minerva?
Time.
Oh, I was right on time.
You were.
All right, hey everyone, I'm Erica Williams. I was a member of Delta Sigma Theta. I crossed back in the spring of 2007 at the University of South Carolina Upstate in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And so my testimony, it sort of began where my mother was a Delta. I didn't realize she was a Delta until it was my senior year of high school, and one of the ladies in my church, she was a member of Delta, and she was going around getting a lot of us together for the Delta debutante. So she was trying to draw us in and get us interested in that. And so once I realized that, she had got some information from my mom about when she crossed, because they needed that information for the actual debutante ball. And so that's I was surrounded by Deltas in church, in school. I had teachers who were Deltas. And then I also had an aunt. So in my sophomore year of college, right before I crossed, I was kind of telling all my family members, and I was trying to get them ready so they could come to the probate. And I told my aunt, and my aunt, she was that one, like, you know, everybody had a family member who was like really adamant about Jesus, and I just called her my crazy aunt. I'm like, oh, she crazy. But she would say, girl, don't you, like, before, you know, I crossed, she was like, girl, don't cross, don't you do that, don't pledge that sorority, because she was an ex-member, and she was like, you know, it's demonic, oh, it's not of God, it's this, it's that. I'm like, are you crazy, girl? Okay, whatever. And so I just kind of shut it off, but that seed was planted, because she didn't really explain to me, she just, you know, even if she would have explained, I probably still wouldn't have, you know, paid attention, because it was in my heart, I really wanted it. But that seed was planted. And so as I was on, so my sophomore year, I was the youngest on my line. I was 17 when I started college. And so I was the baby on the line. So it was like a lot of privileges that came with that. My former line sisters, they always looked out for me. And so after I crossed, I remember like maybe, it was probably like a month after we crossed, 2 of our pro-fights came like to everyone. We were having some kind of event, and they just let us know that they denounced the sorority. They were 2 sisters, both of them were sisters, and they let us know that they had denounced. At that time, they were attending the church in the community, and that church was preaching against fraternities and sororities. And in order to be in a leadership position within that church, you couldn't be a member of any of those sororities or fraternities. So they told us about it, and at that time, we were like, what? Like, no, that's crazy. And we had just crossed, so it was like we were just now getting on campus, being involved in all these step shows. Like, it was real nice. It was a good time. And so to hear them say that, it was just like, wow. But at that time, I remembered my aunt, when she crossed, and I was like, okay. But again, I just shrugged it off, didn't really pay attention. I was, you know, on campus, like, you know, had this cloud, I was happy. And so, you know, I go on, continue. I graduated from college in the fall of 2009. I graduated when I was 20. I took classes all throughout throughout the summer. I just did year-round classes. So I was preparing to go to graduate school in that January of, I graduated in fall 2008, December 2008, planning to go to grad school in January 2009 at Georgia Southern. And so I wasn't a good test taker. And I had the GMAT, I needed that to take, I was taking a Master of Accounting program, trying to get into the Master of Accounting program. Wasn't a good test taker. The score I needed, it wasn't good enough, but it was good, just enough for them to let me in on a provisional basis. So I went down there, I was taking all these classes. I had to take some undergraduate level classes as well as some grad level classes. And it was, I was there for about a year. I connected with the sorority that was there, the chapter that was there, a lot of the bros that were there, connected with them, just having a good old grand old time. And it wasn't until like that December of 2009 where I was starting to try to register for the following year's classes when the administration told me that I couldn't continue the program. I needed to have the score that they required for the GMAT. And I was like, what? But no, I have a plan. Like, I graduated at 20. I'm going to get my master's at 22. Like, I got a plan. Like, this has to work. Is there another way we can do this? And they're like, no, you need that score. You got to retake the exam. So I had to leave Statesboro, Georgia, and go and move home with my mom in Columbia, South Carolina. And that was not what I was trying to do. Not trying to live with my mom. She had rules. Girl, he had a curfew at 11 o'clock. I'm like, Mom, no, like, I'm too old for that. You don't really give me a curfew. But it was just like, you know, I found myself in a relationship that I should not have been in, but I'll share later more, but my father passed away like 11 days after my 11th birthday. We were a family. It was like we were in the same household, but my father was really close to me, and so his death, that kind of, I searched for like relationships, and I used sex as a way that I thought would keep my relationships together. I didn't want that abandonment, so a spirit of abandonment kind of followed me, and I moved home, and my mom invited me to a Bible study one night at her friend's house, and I was like, Mom, I don't know if I really want to. It's not even at church; it's at somebody's house. Like, she was like, no, come on, they're having a guest come in. It'll be really nice. I was like, okay, Mom. So I went to the Bible study. They were having this praise and worship, and then there was this prophet there who was from a Spanish-speaking country. He had to have an interpreter. So after praise and worship, they started praying in the spirit, and then he would go from person to person, and he was just downloading whatever God was saying to him for that particular individual. So when he got to me, he was saying, you know, a lot of people are asking you what you want to do, but I want to know what you're going to do for me. And so it was like, wow, okay, God has this plan for my life. Like, okay, interesting. And so he started to download and tell me things that he desired for me to do, and again, calling out things that I didn't see that he wanted me to see. And that really was a defining moment for me in my life. So at that point, that was like, okay, well, Lord, I surrender to you. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. Now, that was in 2010. That was in August of 2010. I didn't denounce spiritually until 2013. But the process was, you know, that started my journey of just really God revealing different things that had to be removed. So with premarital sex, my angerness, my bitterness, all these different things God was just revealing to me. And so I would share my testimony on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And as I did that, there was this one guy who I went to high school with. He hit me up in my inbox. He was like, I see your journey. I see how you're living for God, how you're passionate about the things of God. I want to let you know, I denounced Omega, and I want to, my pastor preached on this sermon. I'm going to share it with you. It was a Bible study that he did. As soon as I played that Bible study, it was talking about one thing in particular, and we kind of did something earlier that went back to the ritual. Now you are about to take upon yourself vows and obligations from which you can never be freed. They will follow you to the final judgment. Before we proceed further in this ceremony, I should ask each of you to affirm that you, of your own free will and accord, seek admission into Delta Sigma Theta sorority by saying, I do. And it was like, wow, God, like, this will follow me to the day of judgment. Like, so I'm standing before you, I will have to account for what I said. And it was just at that moment, I was just like, Lord, I'm sorry. I fell on my face. I started crying, and just asking the Lord for forgiveness. Again, the hardest thing for me to do, I told the person that was closest to me on my line, but, we discussed, okay, we're going to tell, one of the girls was having a baby shower. We're going to tell at the next baby shower, let everybody know. But at the baby shower, I chickened out. I was like, no, I'm not going to know. So I didn't tell them until I didn't tell everyone. Everyone kind of knew because we would have events. I wouldn't buy Delta t-shirts. I wouldn't take pictures. I wouldn't do any of the pyramids or anything like that. But it was last year when I met these ladies and they told me about the official withdrawal process, because the enemy will try to get you and say, no, this is a lifetime commitment. But there is a process. You can go through and you can get your name fully written, taking off the membership roster, and everything, and sever all the ties with the sorority. So that's what I did, and I told the ladies before then, because I was like, God, you know what? I'm going to stand for you. I don't care what people say. I don't care what happens as a result of this. I know that you are with me, and I'm doing this for you, and so that's my testimony.
Okay, my name is Angela Crenshaw. As a child growing up in the church, AME church, and she'll talk about AME in a minute, but everybody was great. The pastor's wife, the choir director, the ushers, everybody was great. So I'm just like, okay, I have an older sister. There's a big age gap between us. It's her, then 3 boys, and then me. I'm the baby. And so because of that, we didn't really have that closeness. I kind of long for like a sisterhood, and I'm very social, very outgoing. So I wanted some type of sisterhood. So also in school, I had so many people that were the counselors, the principal, all of them were part of Greek. And so I thought it was okay, because I knew I loved God, but I wasn't in the word like I should be. Because if you're not in the word like you should be, then it's like, how do you know God? Who are you really talking to when you really pray? Because then you start to create your own God, or you look at other people. So I was looking at other people. I was thinking, okay, well, they're pastors, they're ministers, so they know more than I do. So if something is crazy, they probably would get out or speak about it, right? So, but then I looked at the shield, and I was like, Minerva's on there. So I went to a minister, and it's crazy when you go to somebody that's still in, because clearly they don't see something because they're still in. So I went to somebody, and they was like, oh, it's just like a logo. It's just like a symbol, and this and to the third. And so I was like, okay, I went with it. So then when I got to my school, Delaware State University, you probably seen them in the news about a hazing incident. And Delta was not on the yard. First of all, I was a band dancer. That was ungodly to begin with. Because how we dress, how we dance, the music that we're dancing to. So I was a band dancer for 2 years. Delta Sigma Theta was not on the yard at the time because they were in trouble for hazing. So they were suspended for 5 years. So my band dance leader was a Kappa Diamond. So I was like, okay. I saw the relationship, because there was Kappas in the band. I saw the relationship between them, non-sexual at all. They were really respectful to her, protected her, was there for her, she needed anything. And so I was like, me and my best friend, at the time she was in band with, I met her through band. I said, oh, we want to do this, we want to do this. So it was another girl too, but she ended up joining Zeta Phi Beta, and once you join a 3-letter, you can't really go back and join like a sweetheart type of thing. So I said I wanted to become a Kappa Diamond. It wasn't for the guys. I wanted to shimmy. I wanted to do my own thing. I said if I was a dude, I would want to be a Kappa. So I went through that process. Now you have sweethearts, and then you have actual diamonds. So the sweethearts, for some campuses do certain things. They may do patties, whatever. We pledge, and we pledge like the men. And I don't know what I was thinking, but I really wanted to be a Kappa Diamond because I thought it was cool. So the guys didn't touch us, but the hearts did. So the previous hearts came back. Not only was I was Spring 10, but they also had Omega Pearls, and they also had Alpha Angels. They wouldn't let the Sigma Souls back because they really wouldn't let them back because the Zeta was like, no, we ain't having it. So yeah, and then you had the Iota Sweethearts. So all of them, we all were like kind of cool with each other. But when I had pledged, I just, the second day, I got in trouble. And for something. And I was just like, the Lord spoke to me when I was online. It was like, I did not call you to be here. I did not call you to be here. The things that it was just really, the stuff that you see on TV and you hear about in the news, that stuff is really real. It's really real. You get paddled. I remember when I got in trouble, I had to eat, it wasn't, I did eat onion too, but it was like all this mixture. Everything was edible technically, but it's all mixed together, and I got a weak stomach. So So I'm in this corner, right, and I'm drinking this stuff, and it come back up, and if you throw up on the floor, you get into more trouble. So I throw it back up in the cup. My line drunk that cup, so they drunk my cup. We had to pass the yolk through each other's mouths. So stuff like that is really just crazy. So at the time, the two had dropped. She could take the physical, but she couldn't take the mental. I could take the mental, I just couldn't take the physical. So I knew every time that you do something, even if you didn't get in trouble, you have to pop out, take your hits. And I remember they thought I wasn't humble. You know, I would pull my eyes and stuff we had to do. I'm like, oh, come on. You know, and I remember I had to pop out and I got in the cut. The cut is when you bend over and they're ready to paddle you. And it was stroke after stroke after stroke, and I was just like, it was more than what was supposed to happen because I got in trouble. And the last stroke, I just fell out, and I was supposed to take one more, and my line system popped out and took it for me. And it was just like consistently. And I remember when the Lord had said something to me. The next day, my older big sister, who was a 2, said to me, "You really gonna drop?" And then like I was feeling bad. I was like, "Nah, I'm gonna stay in this. They already touched me. I'm gonna finish this process because those hits weren't in vain." So then I stayed online, and I ended up crossing. I was shimmying everywhere. I was at Morgan. I was everywhere. We in this called a Hell Week. That alone, the last week, that alone explains enough. It really explains enough. We didn't even run through our information because it was like you see in different chapters and it's chaotic. And Set actually is a false god that means chaos. So it's like when that dark time comes, you're like, oh snap, you're kind of nervous. So then, make a long story short, after that, Delta came back in the yard. Oh, I'm with it. I'm with Delta. I ain't pledging no more because I just pledged. I'm going to do this again. So I said, I'm going to do this. And so the Kappas, at the time, were like, you're not going to pledge. You pledged this, but you ain't going to pledge this. So I said, nah, I'm just hoping they pick me. I had one of the national presidents that I was close with write my letter to make sure I got selected because they knew that I pledged for Kappa Diamond. And so some of them didn't really want to select me because they was like, oh, she probably going to pledge for Delta, and we don't want to get suspended again. So at one of the national presidents, not the current one at the time, but select me and write my letter of recommendation. So I got selected. And I thought like, okay, I'm not pledging. Let me just, go through all this. So I went through the ritual, and me and my at that time my line sister, we was like, once a pyramid, always a pyramid. But when you become a Delta, you put away pyramid things. I was like, oh, is that scripture? I was like, oh snap, that's kind of weird. Oh, we want to be Delta. Like, we just kind of like it was like a back and forth, and I kept thinking about how other pastors and stuff was in there. And so then later on, it just, when I crossed Delta and everything, you really walk across sand and all that stuff. Again, I was paper for Delta, but I was made for a Kappa Diamond, so people still respected me. You know what I'm saying? I still got the respect that, you want. But then my line has split. Some of the girls went back. And I was torn. I was like, man, I wish I would have I wish I would have pledged for Delta. And it's crazy how you become a Delta. You might not be good, but then you go back to go through hazing. That already shows that there's a stronghold on you. You know what I'm saying? Because you're trying to impress people. You're trying to be good. And a lot of people will say, well, I just won't pledge this. But at the end of the day, whether you're paid, because I went through both, whether you're paper or whether you're made, it's still ungodly because of the rituals. And yeah, you really do value